I want to take the time to celebrate and congratulate American Black Journal. 50 years of doing serious, sustained analysis, representation of the people, talking earnestly about serious issues of race, class, increasingly gender, sexual orientation, the things that matter to Black people, the things that matter to Black Detroit, the things that matter to Black America. We thank God for their persistence, and we celebrate them and encourage them to go for another 50 years to tell the truth, to be on the cutting edge, and to represent the best of our thought. Thank you, American Black Journal, for all the great things you do.
Yo, what up? This is Big Snoop Dogg sending a happy 50th anniversary to American Black Journal. Keep on keeping on. You dig?
So I want to just take a minute and just let us take in what we heard from Satori just a few minutes ago. If your eyes were dry during that, I don't know how you did it. I'm always reminded of the weight of history on this program and the work that we do, but that was a perfect intonation of those feelings. So again, Satori, I don't know if you're still here. Thanks so much for that. So it's been my real pleasure to host American Black Journal for the past 10 years. Yes, I have been the host for 10 years, not 50, as some people have asked me. Every week we bring you news, information, culture, and entertainment from an African-American perspective. While our purpose has remained the same over the years, some things have changed, including me, during my tenure as host. Well, I'll let the pictures tell you the story. Take a look. Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. Happy New Year. 2011 is a year without huge elections, but we welcome a new governor and legislature. This year's Ford Freedom Award will honor 3 African-American heroes who've demonstrated the power of perseverance. Our salute to Detroit's Black history continues today with a woman who became the first African-American female judge. The nation's largest study of African-Americans with cancer is taking place right here in Detroit. Detroit's first Independence Bank is now the 7th largest African-American controlled bank in the country. That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. As you can see, the clothes are getting less and less big, and my hair is getting bigger and bigger. The studio sets at Detroit Public Television and the opening sequence of the program also have changed over the past 50 years. We put together a short clip to show how the production evolved with the times. Take a look.
Good evening, I'm Tony Brown. Welcome to CPT.
Our guest for tonight is one of the survivors of the struggle of the last 10 years. That's Bobby Seale.
Thank you.
Okay.
For over 30 years, the husband and wife team of Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee have been golden names to audiences the world over.
Hello, Detroit Black Journal, you're on the air.
Hello, I'm a University of Detroit student.
Hi, this is Susan. I heard what you just said, and I disagree.
Well, My name is Doug Harris. I have a question to ask.
But I'd like to respond to that.
Good evening, I'm Ed Gordon. Tonight we start a special 2-part conversation with the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Good evening, I'm Chauncey Bailey, guest host tonight for this 3rd special Detroit Black Journal City for Youth edition. Tonight we focus on black images, stereotypes, and the media.
Welcome to Detroit Black Journal. I'm your host, Cliff Russell. We're very pleased on Detroit Black Journal to have with us Miss Barbara Talley, who has already broken some political ground in the city of Southfield.
Next on American Black Journal, a look inside the heart of a champion when we go one-on-one with Isaiah Thomas. The capstone of his 13-year career with the Detroit Pistons was back-to-back championship seasons.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson, and I'm very pleased to welcome Detroit Mayor Dave Bing to ABJ.
Good to be here.
Dave Bing on the show again. So here with me now are two people who had major roles in the production of Detroit Black Journal. Wayne State University professor Juanita Anderson was executive producer of the show from 1982 to 1988. Let's welcome her to the program. And videographer and editor Tony Motley was producer from 1993 to 2009. And if I'm not mistaken, he was my first producer on the show. I think you were.
Wow.
So you guys are the ones who make the show work, right? I always say that the people know who the host is and they know who the guests are because they see us, but they don't see all the work that goes into presenting that and making it actually work in front of the camera. Talk about the importance of that role on this show over the years, and whether there's something special about being the producer of Detroit Black Journal or American Black Journal that separates other work that you've done. I'll start with you, Juanita.
Well, I've actually had the privilege of working on 2 of the 3 longest running African-American public television shows, Detroit Black Journal and Say Brother in Boston. So
wow.
There are a few similarities that go there. But I think from my vantage point, when I came to Detroit in 1982, I had been working at a small station in Southern Illinois called WSIU, which not only serves Southern Illinois, but Paducah, Kentucky, and Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and I'm pointing backwards because I'm dyslexic a little bit in terms of what is East and West, but also doing Black programming there. And I think that what became important was that you had Black people at the helm of the show who were making decisions about what was the topic, what was the content, who was going to be on it, where you were going to shoot. And I think that that was in the spirit of what Black Journal, CPT, and shows like Say Brother and Black Horizons in Pittsburgh were founded upon. This notion that we were creating programming by, for, and about the Black community. And what that meant was we were not trying to exclude any audience, but we were trying to speak to Black people first and foremost from the vantage point of Black people. And you can't do that without Black producers.
Without Black producers, sure, yeah. Tony? Oh, go ahead.
For me, being a young producer when I started and working with Cato, and then we saw Cliff Russell, my man Cliff, God bless him.
And we have to talk, excuse me for interrupting you, but Cato Weatherspoon was the very first Black director in the city of Detroit.
Right, wow.
And we owe him a major debt of gratitude for all of his years of service with Detroit Black Journal.
Absolutely. I think to get an idea to the screen was difficult because there were so many concerned Black folks that were going to check you and make sure that the right person was on to talk about that subject and you spoke about it properly. My mother was a good friend of Dr. Charles Wright's. My mother had great friends in the Black community. I was Dorothy's son. I could not embarrass my family on television. So coming here, doing this show, it was a rite of passage. And for people like Juanita, like Cato Weatherspoon, Jim Woods, Gerald Smith, other people that were involved with the show, you had to get their approval, or you would be checked. And so, but it's really about us being able to tell our own stories in a way that mattered to us with that kind of authentic voice, and in spite of whoever didn't like it.
Right.
And the lens mattered. It wasn't only the producers. It's the fact that we had black directors, that Jim Woods was the director of photography for very much of our location shoots. I remember, because I came in as executive producer of cultural affairs, so I did arts and culture programming from various vantage points. But we did a program with the BBC Wales, who wanted to look at gospel music from a very British vantage point. And we sort of had to dissuade them from that notion. But they had come to Motortown looking for the ghetto.
Where gospel music comes from, right?
And got very incensed that I could not, my production assistant would not show them the ghetto that they were looking for, because it just didn't exist. Not in Detroit at any rate. But I recall that we brought in native Detroiter Donald Vales, who was living in Washington, D.C. at that time. And I sent a crew out to the airport to cover Donald's arrival at the airport. Much to my surprise, it was a white cameraman, but his lens and the way he saw black people in the world was very different than I saw it. So I'm expecting to see a close-up shot of Reverend Vales coming in, and we follow him down as he moves from the, and at that time you really could shoot at the gate.
At the gate.
But what I got back was this extreme wide shot with one single black person sort of moving through it. And I mean, that was his lens. My sensibility as a black person says, you follow the person that you're covering, not see one white person walking through a crowd of white people, one black person walking through a crowd of white people. Different gaze, and that's really important.
I think the thing you learn behind the scenes about television is that you see that woman with one tooth and rollers in her hair on the 6 o'clock news, and you wonder, how did that happen? Right. And then you realize that as a producer, when you're in the field with these different people from all walks of life, you may ask someone else for that soundbite. Right. You may ask somebody, maybe they want to fix their hair or cover up something, but you have dignity about the people that you deal with, and you want to present them in a way that doesn't disrespect them. And that's what's important.
So as the current host of the show, I know that sometimes I get crosswise with my producer, right? Sometimes she wants to do something one way and I want to do it another. Can you talk some about that relationship between the producer and the host, and how
Daryl
important
Wood,
it is?
with Cliff, I'm surprised we never came to blows. We got as close to a fist fight as you could possibly ever get without having it happen. I mean, people driving away from the building mad, people not talking to each other. It was crazy, but it's just part of the process. Yeah. It really is.
See, I didn't have that issue.
No?
No, because we didn't have a host.
You got off easy.
Well, that's one way to solve that problem.
When I came to Detroit Black Journal, there really was no one who could replace Ron Scott. Ron was a cultural critic, a community activist, a journalist, an intellect who could talk to and about anything. He was not a star. He understood that his responsibility was to elicit and get stories from the people that were on the set with him, and that was why he was there, and that was why they were there. So,
and he did it so cool.
So
right?
cool.
When I look at old clips, he is the coolest host who was ever on this this program.
That's who he was, though.
Yeah.
Really,
yeah.
So when I came on board, we had a very talented producer, Deborah Ray, who we wanted to stretch. We wanted to focus on content. So we made the decision to go to a once-a-month hourly format, which allowed us to use the resources that we had to have more production values. We did a lot of documentary-style work or big studio performance pieces, and really focused on the subject matter at hand, rather than getting into arguments with hosts.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I mean, you and I understand both sides of this, Stephen, and it's probably your fault. Because
it's always my fault.
The talent, I mean, the question was always, who's on the show this week? Why are we doing this? That's right.
Why are we doing this way, right?
And so that's just part of it. I think that actually makes the show better. Yeah. That's just part of the game.
So before we end,
Just
go ahead.
to add to that, I mean, I think that the synergy of a group of black people working together, whether it's host and producer and director and director of photography or sound person, you have to discuss, you have to challenge each other. Yeah. And that was the magic of Detroit Black Journal during the time that I worked there.
We don't all think the same
thing. We don't all think
Imagine
alike?
that.
Yeah, right.
Imagine that.
So I'm curious also about this idea, we saw a little bit in the clip, the idea of live call-ins on the show. Now, I host a radio show where we take phone calls, and many days I say, it's a good thing there's not a camera in this room to see my face, my reaction to the callers. How did you manage that with live TV?
I didn't do it.
You didn't do it. Okay.
I am responsible for killing the live
call.
call.
The phone call.
I didn't, and it was my aesthetic. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So
it seems odd for television. Was that part of the show when you produced it? It wasn't. Okay. Well, I'll have to ask. I'll have to find the people who are responsible.
Do something different. I wanted to do like Juanita did. I wanted to do something different, and I think that's the producer's right to do that. To change the game.
Cast
if you feel
the
like
show
it.
in a different direction.
Right.
Sure.
But you know, I was thinking about some of the in-depth programs that we did, and I realized that even though I was working here in the 1980s, some of the issues still remain the same. Sure. We won an Emmy for Public Education, a Community Crisis.
And it's still going on.
We did an hour on the technological revolution. And at that time, computers were just coming to our desktops. In fact, I had to fight to get one at Detroit Public Television. But we really wanted to take a look at whether or not black children were being prepared and had the resources to deal with science and engineering and technology. And here we are today. I mean, and there were role models at that time. DAPSEP, the DAPSEP program was one of the leading programs in science at that time, science and math. So, but we look in the same issues of resources and accessibility to technology are still pervasive in our communities. And there's still a need for us to really continue to address and insist and change that narrative.
And in this kind of space, in that black space that this show creates.
It's a sensitive subject, but it is interesting because if you look at the beginning, there's a Tony Brown or there's an early 1968, 69 version of Black Journal where they're talking about public education.
Yes,
and it's just...
Yeah, they're talking to students at Northern High School who are talking about conditions that you might find in public schools today. Yeah. All right, Juanita Anderson, Tony Motley.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here.